has there been anyone that we have met in the NFL as coaches that is willing to give up their offense to the guy that has the ball in his hands more? No! What's going on, Philadelphia? Welcome to another special edition of the one and the only Bell and the Birdmen. We hope that, God, did you hear that there's like a hurricane going on in Puerto Rico right now?
There's a hurricane in Puerto Rico?
It's passing through where Vince Quinn is happily vacationing this week, Tyre. If you don't know by now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tyre Hood hanging out with us, the newest producer and now co-host of Bell and the Birdmen. So how you feeling? How's the Discord been treating you?
I'm feeling good. The Discord welcomed me with open arms. I
Good.
love it here. I really do.
BellandtheBirdmen.com, obviously, to go and hang out there. And one of the things that I think we are even going to not even see eye to eye on, oddly enough.
No.
And I don't mean to do this to you so early in our relationship, but like, there is a lot of discussion on, one, Eagles are super boring right now. And that's to be expected. No pool parties are happening yet. Summer is about to begin tomorrow, so things could happen with the youngsters, and who knows. But
nobody bench pressing in their driveways?
not yet. But what really is the expectation for this offense? Because we're saying better with everything. Jalen Hurts is going to get better. Nick Sirianni is going to get better. All right, well, what's better? You know, like, it's really hard to define these things coming after a Super Bowl loss. Jonathan Gannon's replacement's like welcomed at this point. That's easy. That all feels like it's going to be improved over there. But you even said it to me this morning. This is one of the top scoring offenses in the league. How do you remain better? So what is better for Jalen Hurts in 2023 in your mind?
It's kind of hard to define that because of what Jalen Hurts accomplished this past offseason. I mean, this past season. And you know what? Honestly, just continue doing what you've been doing. Like, for me, that's the only way you can improve. How can you improve on something that's already great? That's my thing. You can't improve on something that's already great. Jalen Hurts is a smart quarterback. All right, he's not going to throw that ball in a position where he's going to get intercepted. We saw that this past year. Hell, we saw that even in previous years where he just wouldn't take those type of chances. Outside of the Super Bowl fumble, he's very protective of that football. He's very smart, knows where to put the football, knows the offense, excellent on RPOs, knows when to use his legs, knows when to slide. What's to get better with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, like, why stop? Why not just stop at the Big Mac, right? The fucking McDonald's was fine. It was great with the Big Mac. Just like George Lucas was fine with the first Star Wars. There's always better. There's always a way to try and get better or be great or whatever it is. Why not be the franchise? Who cares about what happened last year? Like, I want tangible, actual things that are happening, you know? And I don't think that that's defined. We say all these things. Like, I'll even argue against myself. The throwing over the middle thing, I don't really think that's what's holding Jalen back. It's just the anticipation of all that, breaking the pocket, the whatever. As long as you're hitting AJ and Devonte, you're kind of right? But that's not an answer. That's not like, you know, we get into the discussion, will he have full control of the offense? And that's a whole other thing. I think it's just the dumbest thing to talk about with quarterbacks and all that. But, you know, I think it is about a mentality that he takes even further. And I know that's even harder to like physically, this is what I need you to start doing. But that's why, like, there aren't a lot of great answers, but I don't know if I have any either when it comes to Jalen.
But see, that's the thing though, Johnny. You mentioned, and I know I had a discussion with a couple of people in the Discord that, you know, they want to see more Jalen Hurts passes over the middle. That's all fine and dandy, but is the middle available? That was the beautiful thing about one of the beautiful things about this offense. Jalen didn't just throw over the middle just because that's where the play was supposed to go. He threw over the middle. He threw to a certain receiver who was open. And that's what you want. This offense isn't an offense that is necessarily predicated on, you know, throwing deep or West Coast offense and, you know, throwing short and intermediate passes. It's not necessarily that offense. Honestly, this is a take what you can get offense. This is the offense that's going to take what the defense gives them. They're going to take advantage of every hole that every defensive scheme has, because every defensive scheme has holes. It has ways to destroy that defense that you're going up against. So with all that being said, listen, Jalen Hurts and this offense just needs to continue doing what they've been doing. Now, you also mentioned something about quarterback cadences.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And how changing the play at the line of scrimmage, how you think, you
completely overrated.
I disagree totally with you.
And this is what I think most people tend to get into in terms of like, I know Jalen's going to have this huge improvement. He's going to be able to check, whatever at the line, and he's going to be the next Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, however you want to do it. No, he fucking doesn't. That is not a step of approval, and I'm a better quarterback. Everyone's going to know the offense better year after year. You even just described it just by being Jalen and by grinding and practicing, you're eventually just going to get better at that stuff. He does not need to have full control of the offense. And God, if I have to keep pointing to Patrick Mahomes to prove this point, I'm going to. He probably just got there winning his second Super Bowl of like, I can do kind of what Andy Reid does. I understand his tendencies. He's probably going to give me a little more control. Has there been anyone that we have met in the NFL as coaches that is willing to give up their offense to the guy that has the ball in his hands more? No.
John.
Fuck no. In fact, that doesn't happen unless you're one of the guys that I named. And Jalen doesn't have to be that to keep growing and excelling. No, calling the offense. Jason Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. What the hell do I want Jalen messing around with protections for?
He may not have to mess around with the protection, John, but you need that confidence in your quarterback. That's what's going to take that. Honestly, we just talked about how is really not too many ways that this offense could take another level. That's one way this offense could take another level. If they allow Jalen Hurts the freedom to be able to completely change and wreck a play if he wants to at the line of scrimmage, that's huge.
It's not going to happen.
Think about the quarterbacks.
It's not going to happen.
But think about the quarterbacks that's actually done it. We're talking about Hall of Famers. We're talking about guys like Drew Brees. We're talking about guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady.
One Super Bowl.
We're talking about
multiple
the greats,
Super Bowls.
the greats of the greats in this game. We're talking about guys who will go down in history as the greatest quarterbacks of all time, being able to have that freedom to change the plays at the line of scrimmage.
Peyton Manning won one Super Bowl for how fucking smart he was.
Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls.
Oh, that's right. Well, I mean, the other one doesn't even count. That wasn't him. Come on, Ty.
Hey, it counts, John. It counts. It's a Super Bowl, and it counts.
All right, let's replay that Legion of Boom one, the Super Bowl against that. And show me that 52-0 Super Bowl. And we'll talk about that. Where was he really prepared for that?
That Seahawks team was a little different. We're not going to talk about that right now. But my basic overall point is that you guys, everybody talks about taking another step. This is a way to take another step. But it takes trust, not in the quarterback, not just in the quarterback, but in that offensive coach to trust that quarterback to make the right plays. If an offensive coordinator or a head coach does not trust his quarterback to make those calls, that's why you have most quarterbacks not being able to make audibles at the line of scrimmage.
Then, Tahir, I'm telling you, you're going to be disappointed again this year. Because if you think Nick Sirianni, Mr. No fucking hot reads, is suddenly going to give up control to his, now paid, and what are we in, year 4 quarterback officially? Not going to happen. If you think that I even argued for it before and after the season, this offense needs hot routes. And guess what it doesn't have, and it probably never will? That is a Nick Sirianni question. I don't think I'm still there. I think the only way Jalen gets better is if Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson stop fucking around, if you want me to be blatantly honest with it. I don't think it's anything in Jalen's control that's really going to force the issue here. This offense, everything you're describing comes from the coach's end, in my opinion. The philosophy, what it does. So how do you get Nick Sirianni to say, Jalen, I trust you, if that's what's really happening? And I don't even think that's what's happening.
Well, first off, let's be honest here. If we're talking about coaches who are actually calling plays, maybe it wasn't a Shane Steichen thing to have hot reads in his offense. Maybe Nick Sirianni had nothing to do with that. Maybe it was just a Shane Steichen thing to not have hot reads. But I totally agree with you.
Remember that Ty said that, by the way, too, because I agree.
But I do agree. I do agree with you on one point, John. You talked about how this offense doesn't have hot reads. And I do agree, because what defenses are going to do this year, and I'm predicting it right now, defenses are going to start coming at Jalen Hurts a whole lot more harder with more creative blitzes, more creative packages, more creative schemes to stop that offense. And Jalen Hurts is going to have to figure out a hot read to get that ball out quickly. We saw way too many times where he would break the pocket sometimes predicting where the pressure was going to come from. While, yes, that may be fine, and that's part of his game, you still want to see a hot route where the quarterback can get the ball out of his hands quickly in anticipation of him probably getting smacked up very quickly. If he gets the ball out of his hands, the chances of him getting hit decreases. You want that. I agree with you. That hot read needs to be implemented in this offense. Do I think they will? Honestly, yes, because I don't see the growth of this team. The growth of this team this team is just growing astronomically year after year after year. We've seen it with Nick Sirianni coming in, questionable first press conference, barely made the playoffs, but then next year elevates to a Super Bowl. What makes you think this team isn't going to continue to elevate their game? There's different ways, like we just said, of how to elevate these guys, and this is a way to do it. You get Jalen Hurts some hot reads. You get that ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands quickly. You can preserve him for the season.
I don't know. I think they do. And this is just a theory that's been playing around in my head. Is one of the reasons that the Eagles don't have this in their offense. Shane was my first thought. But, like, the more and more you listen, that is a Nick thing. He has come out and said that. And I want that to be not true, but I do really think it's a Nick Sirianni thing. So one of the reasons why I think, because when a play breaks down, we really don't know what Jalen's doing next. That's where I think his instincts are so dominant and overlooked in terms of what his ability is. Yes, the pocket breaks down way too early for him. And yes, he probably could check down if he wanted to. But look at again, he's still the best runner on this team. He was when Miles Sanders is here. He's still going to be when Kenny Gainwell and Rashad Penny and all these other guys that are hanging around. That's why. I mean, there is no plan for a guy that can just suddenly whoop, whoop, take off for 10, have Devonte like extend a play where you can hit him with a perfect crosser because he knows where to go. The same with AJ because he's been through this. I think that's part of the reason why they don't, is because Jalen can bail them out of so many cases. But I'm with you in terms of long-term. If you want to preserve him, you've got to start doing that. But I guess that's where we're going to meet right back in the middle again, because Jalen can't do that to his extent now because probably he is learning so much stuff, year in and year out and things like that. So I guess all I'm saying is this is on the coaches, not Jalen. I know where Jalen's going. You know where Jalen's going to go.
We know exactly where Jalen's going.
We know where AJ's going to be. We compared him still. We still think he's the best version, or this era's version of T.O.
It's hard not to speak against that, because you're talking about in terms of body structure, and you're talking about in the way how violent they are with the ball in their hands. You're talking about basically like a bruising running back with the ball in their hands. T.O. didn't care who was in front of him. Just bulldoze right over you, stiff arm you, and get as many yards as possible. And that's the same mentality with A.J. Brown.
Oh, yeah, and it's and he says almost as weird things. Well, almost. Teal's way more brighter.
I was about to say, if A.J. Brown start doing push-ups now and bench presses in his garage, now we got some questions.
Yeah.
Now, let's be honest here. Let's hope it doesn't go in that direction.
Another 2 or 3 years. I think we're going to see some version of that.
Please, no.
But to me, I guess that's more exciting to me than anything going into the season is, yes, all these questions are still true. There's even debates on, and I need your input on this too, but, is Devonte a top 10 or not? That's still like, to me, he's on the borderline. I think for you, he's on the borderline too. But for all of this chemistry between the three of those guys, that was just what happened in year one. In year one, that was powerful enough to go to a Super Bowl with up and down decisions, maybe coaching wise, especially that fucking Colts game. That just sticks out in my head because we were there live seeing it. And we're going, what is going on here? We're not going to be embarrassed by all these Midwesterners eating freaking corn and yelling at us. All right. I know because I smell their own.
I hope we don't have any Midwestern fans that, you done pissed off just now.
Yeah, we smell our own. All right. I was better too, by the way. But they are best friends. And I know I think it's very easily forgettable sometimes that they're up talking about this every single day. Like the 93 or 92 Phillies have been used at nauseum for examples like, guys, I like hanging out and talking ball, whatever it is. And that's what's still in this locker room. So to me, it's just about tinkering those things of how do you make AJ even better as he gets towards his prime, and Devonte as he starts climbing up the ladder, more or less.
Well, that means you have to assess what your wide receivers are best at. We just talked about how A.J. Brown is like a running back with the ball in his hand. So you need to get the ball in his hands in any way possible. If that means, throwing more slant routes towards A.J. Brown, which we saw mostly in the beginning of the season, then so be it. Start having him run some skinny posts, maybe some intermediate routes, getting him open. That's a way to get some passes over the middle of the field if you want that. Get either way, even screen passes to A.J. Brown with blockers up ahead. Get A.J. Brown the ball in his hands, magic happens. Now,
Yes.
in terms of Devonte Smith is more of a possession wide receiver. He's a wide receiver that's going to move the chains for you. He can catch those balls on the sidelines and things of that nature. So you set him up with comeback routes. You set him up to where he's going to be the guy to convert the third down. You just got to put these guys in the best positions that they see fit, that benefits these guys. And the Eagles did that last year. If they just continue the success that you did doing, sometimes as the old saying goes, if they ain't broke, don't fix it. What you did last year worked. Now, improve upon it by maybe changing some things up, changing some looks, but it still worked. So just do what you did last year.
Yes, except for when it comes to the 4th and 1 push. I am yelling at Nick Sirianni to please build off of that. I want to see misdirection sweeps. I want to see, all of a sudden we're throwing a bomb out of a 4th and 1. You can do so many things because they're so petrified. The 92% conversion rate.
I typically would agree with you in that situation, but in this situation, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
They're going to come after it. Some team is going to solve that.
Teams have come after it. They've tried all kinds of creative ways. They've tried to throw linemen up underneath to break the lineman's legs. They've tried going over the top and getting to Jalen Hurts. They've tried blitzing from the side. There's nothing that works against this tush push. Nothing works.
You hear that, Vince Quinn? Tush pushes in for 3 out of the 4 of us here. So
the tush push is in. I'm just saying, there's no way to stop it.
And not only is there no way to stop it, you can actually see that live with Tyre, with me, with Taylor, with Vince, and a whole bunch of amazing Eagles fans, as we are definitely going to Los Angeles, and we will see the Tush Push live. Thanks to our friends over at Liquid Death and Reading Soda Works, Shappy's Pretzels, CVT Soft Serve. And if you don't know by now, go to bellandthebirdmen.com, as the packages are selling out like crazy. So we are down to like 13 flights if you want to stay till Tuesday.
Wow.
There are a ton for Monday. And if you guys want different flights, please let us know. If you're not in Philly and you'd rather just travel on your own, you can simply email us, info@bellandthebirdmen.com, as we have hooked up our man Jason and a couple other people in North Carolina and put together their self-travel package as well. So, we can't wait to see you out there. These expectations are high. We're going to be rabid. It's October 8th, so it's a perfect time in L.A.
Beautiful weather.
Have you ever been to L.A., by the way?
I have been to L.A.
How long ago?
Oh, man, it was years ago. I was like 7 years old. It shouldn't even
You were
count.
7 years old
I
a
was
few
7.
years ago?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm having a heart attack already. Never turn 40. The moment you do, you just start thinking of mortality, and it's a really bad old person thing.
I'll take your word for it.
Keep being young. Join us in the Discord, bellandthebirdmen.com, or, text us, 215-509-5833. If you have questions about the show, if you have a take, questions about LA, you can always find us there. T, anything before we head out? I can yell into this microphone. He's shaking his head now, just like the wonderful producer that he is. Tyre, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you, John.
We'll see you next time. Bye.